my Toronto. VK on the beat. Check. I'm in Toronto where you wanna get the city love. I'm from Toronto where you wanna get the city love. I'm in Toronto like we wanna get the city love. My city love me back for my city love. I'm in Toronto.
Welcome to episode 1163 of Toronto Mic'd. Proudly brought to you by Great Lakes Brewery. Order online for free local home delivery in the GTA. StickerU.com. Create custom stickers, labels, tattoos, and decals. Palma Pasta. Fresh, homemade Italian pasta and entrees. The Yes, We Are Open podcast. A Moneris podcast production. The Advantaged Investor podcast from Raymond James, Canada. RecycleMyElectronics.ca. Committing to our planet's future means properly recycling our electronics of the past. Ridley Funeral Home. Pillars of the community since 1921. Canna Cabana. The lowest prices on cannabis. Guaranteed. And Sammy Cone Real Estate. Ask Sammy any real estate questions at sammy.cone@properlyhomes.ca. Less than 4 weeks ago, I recorded episode 1145 of Toronto Mic'd. That episode featured Dean McDermott and Mary Jo Eustace. It was a fun chat as we celebrated the launch of X's and Uh-Ohs, their new podcast I was proud to produce. Well, things have changed. All is explained in episode 3 of X's and Uh-Ohs. The role of Dean is being played by yours truly.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the number one podcast in the world, X's and Uh-Ohs with Mary Jo Eustace. And I'm so excited to be here alone in my bedroom on a Monday afternoon. And if you have been following our podcast, like the millions of people who have been following this amazing podcast, you're probably noticing there's a different guy here. And the person that I usually co-host the podcast is absent. And that person happens to be my ex-husband, Dean McDermott. Now, we started this podcast together because we had a real intention to reconnect as friends. So I came up with like this whole 12-step program that I would come up with an idea for every show, and I would interview Dean about it, how to become friends, starting from when you get divorced to the 12th step is when you graduate and you're friends. Well, we made it 2 episodes, okay? So I guess that I am on the Uh-Oh list. I'm on the Uh-Oh list. I'm not getting along with my ex. And we were actually in a professional business space environment, really with good intention to make this work and to show the universe that we could do this. Well, we fucked up because we didn't get through it. But what I am fascinated about is why we didn't get through it. So I am ready to dive in super, super deep, take responsibility for my, involvement in it, to examine it. I'm curious, can we really ever get along with our ex? So we actually had something happen that was sort of like a mini Hiroshima. And I would like to introduce our producer. He's super hot. He represents the Ridley Funeral Home. He's in Toronto. I'm in Los Angeles. And I'd like to throw it to Mike Boone because he has produced 11 or 12 episodes of X's and Uh-Ohs with Dean McDermott and I, and now he's producing solo Mojo. So we would like to share our story, why we're here, and why it's so important for us to take this platform we have and really move forward and turn it into something even more extraordinary. Can I say that, Mike? Does that sound good?
Absolutely. MJ, nice to be here on X's and Uh-Ohs.
Uh-Ohs with you, too.
See, Dean could never nail that, right? He always said Uh-Ohs. It's Uh-Ohs.
Uh-oh. Now, just a little backstory. Dean McDermott and I were married for 17 years. And, if you've listened to this, you probably know. And 17 years ago, he left me for his co-star, Tori Spelling, after they did a Lifetime movie. That sets a template. Fast forward 17 years later, we were friends for a bit. So I'd like to discuss what happened, because I think it's really the meat and potatoes of what this whole thing is about. So about a week and a half ago, Dean and I were promoting our podcast, X's and Uh-Ohs, and getting amazing traction and, having people write in and listen to it and loving the whole experience of us reconnecting and going through the nitty gritty of what happened to us and healing. Looking back, well, it's only a week, objectively, I think the healing was to the bone for Dean, because I'm not sure if he had processed as much as I have or have not. And I say this with love and respect, because the intent was so good. So about a week and a half ago, we were doing a radio show, right? It's not a podcast. It's a radio show.
It's a podcast.
Oh, it was a podcast. Right. Tell our listeners about the podcast that Dean and I did last week out of Canada.
Absolutely. So Humble and Fred were a longtime morning show duo in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And they're, especially for people our age, MJ, they're famous. They did
30s in our 30s or 40s.
Right. Generation X. Okay. Generation X. So Humble and Fred had the morning show on CFNY, which is a legendary Toronto station, 102.1 The Edge. They did that until, I think, from like 1989 to 2001. Then they were on a couple of different stations. And now they podcast. And here's where like the world gets smaller. So I'm lucky enough I got to produce X's and Uh-Ohs with Dean McDermott and Mary Jo Eustace. But I also produce Humble and Fred's podcast. And we had a chance to promote X's and Uh-Ohs on Humble and Fred. So I arranged for you two to zoom in at the ungodly hour of 5:15 a.m. California time.
Yeah, it sucked. It was horrible. So Mike organized this. It was also on Dean's birthday. So more context, because we love context. Yeah. I've done Humble and Fred for years. I actually had my own radio show in Canada and a bit of a successful career there. And so did Dean. So we have done this show a lot. I would say they're more humble than Fred. He's a bit like Howard Stern-ish. Is that too strong?
Well, they're both named Howard. They're both named Howard. And they're both Jewish. And they both have black hair.
And he's bitchy. He's a little bitchy. He doesn't mince words, right? He's not into the bullshit. So they had us on their podcast, and they were fascinated by the fact that we were homegrown Canadian talent that they've known like for over 20 years.
Right.
And that, fast forward to 17 years later, we're friends, but everybody sort of knew about this explosion that happened with our marriage. And they were fascinated. How do you get from heinous bullshit to getting along? So these questions were going to come. So this was one of our second or third interviews that we had done regarding our podcast, X's and Uh-Ohs. And some fair game questions came, I think, tougher questions. And this is what transpired. Do you want to play your mic?
Here we go. It's about 90 seconds. This happened a couple of weeks ago on Humble and Fred.
But at that point in the story, you come to Mary Jo and say, hey, remember all that stuff I was talking about, how this is going to be the greatest thing and how we're going to, this is a dream life. And and you were doing very well. You were doing all of that. Your career had taken off. And so how does that conversation go? Did it start with, hey, Mary Jo, remember that 90210?
No. I mean, I can tell you because I wrote a show. God, poor Dean. Is this too much for you on your birthday? It is. It's okay.
It is. I didn't think. Good. I mean, great questions, guys. Good deep dive on the questions.
Oh, I'm sorry because I thought that's what this was going to be about.
Yeah.
Well, I did.
Yeah. So I actually wrote a story about this called Palm Springs because this is what happened verbatim. Is we were on a family vacation with another couple, with Jack and Lola, and this other couple ultimately sold the story to all the tabloids and made a fortune and renovated their kitchen. That's going to happen. But Dean was just sort of distant during the vacation. Long story short, I write about this. I went up to the room to change Lola's diaper, and Dean had just got back from golf. And I said, something's wrong. I just feel something's wrong. And I said, have you met somebody? And he said, yeah. And I said, was it Tori? And he said, yes. I said, did you sleep with her? And he said, yes. And I said, he said, she's my soulmate. We're in love. And and that's where our story began.
Oh, he just left.
He left.
He left.
Hi, jealous? All the listeners jealous? So he left. He left the podcast. And so I continued for the next 20 minutes. And Mike, who's, our producer,
like he literally
connected.
took the lid of his laptop and he closed
Shut it down.
He said, "Not today, Satan," and he closed that thing.
And he left. And so the guys didn't know if it was internet or he left, right? We were a bit confused.
Yeah, and if you listen back to that clip, you can actually hear Dean utter the word "fuck." Like about 20 seconds before he closes the laptop and basically bails. Again, it's his birthday. It's 5:15 a.m., but something there triggers him where he leaves the laptop. But at the time, we thought he leaves the laptop. He left Humble and Fred's show. And at the time, we thought that's the only thing he was leaving was that appearance on Humble and Fred.
Right. And as it turns out, that was not the case. So what happened the next day, Mike, in a very thoughtful way, went back on the show and basically said, look, I think this healing has been to the bone, which, Dean reached out, and we're saying this with love and objectivity for Dean, because obviously it was a painful experience for him to be involved in this and relive it. And Mike did, a debriefing the next day and said, guys, I think hometown boy, a lot of emotions attached to this, not quite prepared or wanting to answer the questions and just, didn't want to have a panic attack or just was overwhelmed. And Humble and Fred, to their credit, said, well, of course, we get that. That makes sense. We'd love to have him back. We understand this is painful, but how great that this is happening. And you guys are doing it in a public forum to help other people, because this really is painful and takes a lot of work to be able to get to a place where you can do this, to be friends with somebody you were once married to or had children with. So they were completely understanding and open to it. But I don't think that that's going to happen. So what happened is on Thanksgiving evening, Dean quit the podcast. He did. And we have 9 other episodes in the can. So we were both reeling from it and decided that we want to continue and examine, my culpability in it, Mike's perspective, how do we do this? Can you be friends with your ex? So it's a whole different journey now.
This is all part of that journey, because up until now, again, I'm in Canada, so we have a different Thanksgiving. So this is Wednesday night, right? Yeah. So the plan was Wednesday night we were going to drop episode 3. Again, to be clear, we have 11 episodes in the can. There are 11 great, heartfelt, authentic conversations between Dean and Mary Jo Eustace, and I have those 11. But we were going to drop number 3 Wednesday night, so people had it Thursday morning. I had a note from Dean that said, hey, can you jump on a Zoom with me? And I literally was publishing this episode, and then I ran down here to the studio to Zoom with Dean, and he told me he had some big news. And I said, I thought it was good, happy news, because he seemed kind of chipper about it, and I thought he was going to tell me something exciting, and I was ready. And he said, I'm done with X's and uh-ohs. Don't drop episode 3. And I will just tell you very honestly, and again, I loved my experience with Dean. I like him. I think he's charismatic, funny, friendly guy that I dig. I liked him as much as I like you, MJ. But I did not see this coming. I was completely blindsided because we had 11 in the can. He was enthusiastic. He had appeared on Toronto Mic'd, which is my show. He had appeared on Humble and Fred. He seemed to be all in. And then suddenly it was like, that's it. I'm done.
Right. And so in fairness, what happened, and this is something I want to examine, and we have a guest coming on later too who's very familiar with this culture that we're going to talk about. And again, let this be a learning experience for all of us, why we jumped into this. But what happened is there was a shift in perspective, because I guess the press, of course, had been supporting us doing this show and moving forward, which is wonderful. And from what it looks like, and we knew this, there was going to be press coming out about Dean's personal life and his wife that was going to be a narrative that they were behind. So Mike, who is from Toronto, is not used to, I call it the Hollywood cock block in press, because it's in the iCloud. There's no basis in reality or anything, but once you get the narrative, it goes. And so this has been an experience for you, because objectively, you're objective, right? there wasn't very many disagreements when we were doing this,
No.
but you were always fair and measured and everything. So you got sort of a whiff of what it's like to be in the eye of the storm in Hollywood. So I'll give you a minute on that, but I really want to re-examine, and also the post-traumatic stress I might have because of this happening again. But just quickly, your experience in that Hollywood bubble, I've never seen you. It took you like 72 hours. You were really you were dreaming about it. Scary, right?
Well, I guess I didn't understand. It was kind of jarring for me to be all in. We were all kind of, the three of us, kind of in cahoots and aligned with what we wanted from this project and the purpose of it. And again, I said this 100 times, but I'll say it again, which is that nothing was scripted or planned. It was all authentic from the heart. So, and this is over a few months, right? Even though this podcast just launched, but we've been recording since June. So over a few months, 11 different episodes, like getting to know you guys and having one-on-ones. It's sort of jarring and almost, you're right, it's a little, it's
Post-traumatic stress.
It's a little tough to suddenly have it cut like that. I feel like my parents just got divorced.
It's very jarring. And this happened to me 17 years ago, which I'm dying to discuss too, and other things. And, but yeah, so basically we got caught in the maelstrom sort of. So we're not quitters, so we wish Dean love and light, and, who knows, there might be another reunion in this, but this is all part of the process. And this is what we have been left with. And there's no way we're giving up on this, the X's and O's, because we think it's amazing. I mean, look what just happened in 2 episodes. You never know what shit's going to go down. Right. And we want to explore it and, dive deep.
So from a technical standpoint, really, like, okay, that great graphic of you and Dean, he was very clear. There was no gray here. It was like, I'm done. Yeah. Don't drop episode 3.
See ya, bitches.
Yeah,
see ya, bitches. I'm out of here.
Don't drop episode. I had to undrop episode 3, which is like unringing a bell. But so the photo that accompanies this show will only be you, and I will delete the name Dean McDermott from the title of this program, and in the description, it will no longer be 2 X's talking about it. It'll be Mary Jo and guests talking about it. But make no mistake, this show is going to continue, but it's going to be with Mary Jo Eustace.
And great guests and great twists. And we've got so much shit planned. And thank you so much. I'm glad we're going to continue because you're awesome. You're great, eh? You're great, eh? So I want to continue this. And okay, so I'm in Los Angeles, and to do this, I needed a bit of a spiritual guru and a guider and a seeker. And I met this woman almost 2 years ago, and she's my soul sister. I mean, she bugs my ass. She rails me so hard. Like, she is so a truth teller and a truth seeker. And so when I was gearing up to do this podcast, I really checked in with her a lot. And keeps saying, life's giving you blessings. Even if stuff falls apart, which it fell apart in the weekend, she said, this is a blessing. So I am so thrilled to be able to welcome my good friend on my inaugural podcast of X's and O's solo, the famous, the beautiful, I hope she's going to come on, the wonderful Ray Dawn Chong. So will she join us now? Yay!
Wow, what a story, you guys. Poor Dean. Oh,
I know. Poor
Poor
Dean.
Mike, Toronto Mike. Poor
Mary Jo.
Can we just all have a group hug? Oh.
Okay, let's do a cosmic group hug. I'm so thrilled to see your beautiful face. And
Honey, it's like, I am surprised that the whole idea didn't blow up sooner. This is so impressive that you guys got through
Look at
12
Mike. Okay.
episodes.
But we only did 2, but we only
officially
we dropped 2.
Yeah.
We dropped 2, almost 3. It was some people might have got 3, but we have 11 episodes. Yeah, we made it 11 episodes before this was killed.
And the other thing is, I think what happened I was listening to the show and I was thinking, what really happened is that the other guys were giving him the what for, and he got a chance, which we all need in our life, to have outside point of view. And in that, I think he saw the level of douchery. And that's what really kind of freaked him out. Because we're all capable of like Trumpian douchery. We just don't want to know it. We just don't want to say. People say, oh, Trump's a bad guy. And I go, well, it takes a group consciousness to manifest somebody with, as toxic as him.
Amen.
Like, we can't in order to be empowered, we can't just sit there and point the finger outward. We have to
Mike,
say,
what do you think of that? I mean, that
Now, those guys you're referring to are Humble and Freds. You're saying,
yeah, I like the idea of Humble and Fred. I may have met them in a little bit
Yeah.
of my press life, but I've only been around for 5,000 years. But yeah. I mean, I don't think they did anything wrong. I mean, listening to the piece, but I think it would be hard on anyone who hasn't examined the level of douchery that it takes to go, I'm in love with somebody else, and it's hard to break up anyway. I can attest to that. But
RD, the heart wants what the heart wants.
okay, the heart wants what the heart wants, but it doesn't always mean the heart's right. And there's a level of respect and commitment, and and I'm not even judging. I actually think he did Mary Jo a solid. If you're gonna fall apart, fall apart.
I think that that's interesting, because when we started to explore this stuff, I think that it became, to Ray Dawn's point, and maybe even for me a little bit too, I started to get a little stress around it, is that when you actually examine this stuff and your actions, and I think Dean made a really interesting comment on one of the podcasts, I don't know if it dropped, which is, yeah, I might have done things a little differently.
Yes.
Right.
And also, it shows him, all of us make mistakes, and all of us, you know what the first thing is, you guys, we ditch ourselves. Whenever we make those decisions that cost us exponentially more, it usually sources from that moment that we decide we're not good enough. We better take this. You know what I'm saying? It always comes down to like our own self-confidence.
That's super interesting. And I think that one of the things yeah, it does. It's hard. And I'm going through that right now. But what was really interesting when you said to me, when I told you about this, because Thanksgiving evening, I called you because you were sick. I went to get your turkey. Ray Dawn had COVID.
Yeah, I had COVID.
She's fine now, but I got her a nice organic turkey, and I'm calling her going, you're not going to believe the shit that just dropped on me. And she said, you know what? You signed up for it. You took it all on.
Yeah.
So she said, no victim, no excuses. You signed up for this agreement, for this relationship to
and for this to happen exactly the way it did.
Right.
Were you surprised by what happened that day, Wednesday night, when Dean said, I'm done?
You see, I saw the cock block happening a few days earlier with the press.
Well, tell us about that. I'm so fascinated because I don't know Hollywood, but you've lived in this world for now, 17 years?
Well, no, didn't wifey get grumpy?
I think what happened is that there was a different narrative that was going to be written, that the marriage was strong. And that, remember, we had to be careful doing our press around that. We were told that we have to, respect that coming out first. So I think once I started to see the building blocks of that, I was like, okay, there's something happening here, because it's being cock-blocked, right? A different narrative.
I have a
is now
question. When you said the marriage is strong, you mean Tori and Dean's marriage?
Tori and Dean's marriage. So then they were starting to put out press regarding that. And that's certainly their right.
So you smelled there was like a little bit of a tide that was going to come up against
I felt there was going to be a tide, and it did not complement our narrative. And because I've been exposed to this for 17 years, and I know these narratives, when they start, whether they have much to do with reality or not, it's like a tidal wave.
But Mary Jo, do you think there's a part of you subconsciously, let's just talk about this, what I call subconscious negative pleasure, that had a little bit of negative pleasure about the fact that you and Dean were getting along, and doing such a fun thing and being, you know what I mean? Like, is there anywhere, and if you say yes, I will respect you more. Because honestly, was there a little hidden subconscious negative pleasure in knowing that she was probably twisting in the wind?
God, Mike, should I answer this question?
I want the honest answer. Like,
yes. No, okay. I first of all, I want to say that I take responsibility. No, stop. I take responsibility for signing up for this job. Because I know subconsciously it's going to be fraught with twists and turns and difficulties and frailties and vulnerabilities and blow-ups that I can't possibly navigate. So I knew that, but that was way deep down. And what happened when we started to do it?
The answer is yes.
Okay, but let me finish. So when we started to do it, it was so enjoyable. It was so fun. Having that energy, having that dynamic, growing back as friends, like all that stuff, whether we went down a million layers or we were only in the top 20 layers, we were trying to get beneath it and to have a conversation regarding this. And Dean was opening up. Again, the 9 podcasts, we did one on infidelity that is sick. It's so good. And so I was really enjoying it and enjoying our empowerment together. And I guess honestly, because it did feel a bit vindicating that, we can do this 17 years later. I was betrayed as, so horrible and awful, and it had been such a long road. And I felt that I was on top of the narrative and in control. But guess what? The universe told me very clearly, you're not. And it was wiped out pretty quickly.
Something else too, that's a powerful gift, is that to take someone else's husband, to even get involved with someone who's completely committed, is a big fuck you to women. If you're a woman and you take another person's husband, you're not only violating yourself, which is the first sin, you're violating somebody else. And then, of course, the whole family. And the heart wants what the heart wants, but it's mostly the egos involved here. Conversely, subconsciously, we in a culture that supports revenge, we do like to know how things, pan out. And in Dean's case, it's been a bunch of years, a ton of kids, and you can kind of look back and kind of go, I might have dodged a bullet, but you're still involved with him and there's still a relationship, but there's got to be a little bit of negative pleasure. And if you can admit that, I think it heals the planet, because the truth is, Dean didn't take anything away from you that wasn't going to happen with somebody. And you chose him. And I think the thing where I would go if I were you is I would go to the place of healing that part of Mary Jo that would ever settle on somebody who had the weakness or the character deficit that would even think about going to somebody else without having a clarity. You know what I'm saying?
You're
like
smart.
A grown-up man separates. A grown-up. Maybe there's not any grown-up men and I might be full of shit, but people who are adults and care, they separate the two because they don't want to hurt the current relationship, and they certainly don't want to start the new relationship on a bad footing.
It's I mean, it's course.
So,
karma,
and everybody has negative pleasure, and a lot of it's subconscious. And it's really good to admit to it, because then it heals us. We heal the whole dynamic between men and women or between couples.
So reeling in the hours of the breakup and deciding to continue this show. I mean, we have just scratched the surface. And I think today we covered what happened. I think sort of our shock, our feelings. And again, I'm really interested in delving in why the hell I did this and I'm doing this and why I want to continue to do this, because I think it's super important. Now, Mike is divorced. So
Mike, are you really divorced?
I'm really divorced. I'm on my second marriage. And
okay.
So I have 2 kids from my first marriage, 2 kids from my second marriage.
Yeah, that's a lot of kids.
How many divorces are you? 8, 9? I can't remember.
I swear to God, I have like 17.
No, I know you do. I mean,
I have 3, but 2 divorces, 3 divorces, and 1 died.
Okay.
My last ex disappeared in the Bermuda Triangle. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
I know. He was actually quite fun. For instance, I really counted on his brain trust. Even though we weren't together, I enjoyed if there was any he was a PhD in mechanical engineering. And
that's
then
good brain energy to have.
Yeah, it was really important. And now he's gone, and I can't ask him a question like, "What's the noise? What does that mean when there's a noise?" You know what I mean? Anyway,
in your car,
MJ.
So yes,
as we reset here in the new episode 3, which is Sans Dean McDermott. Was there a moment where you thought that with Dean goes the podcast? Like when you found out, because I guess I delivered the news to you, right? Because
you did.
I WhatsApped you after my Zoom with Dean, and I said, "Houston, we have a problem." I think those were my exact words.
Yeah,
Because I'm funny that way.
Houston is a problem. If you've never been to Houston, it's so gross. I'm sorry, Houston.
I said Dean McDermott.
Houston is a problem. Sorry.
Dean McDermott, not only is Dean McDermott done with the program, but he doesn't want these 9 episodes in the can to drop. So we had the 2 that are out there. They're fair game. They're out there. But we're now recording in episode 3. But when I gave you this news, MJ, did you think to yourself for a moment like, okay, that's it for X's and Uh-Ohs? Or did you immediately realize that you wanted to continue as the sole host of this fine program?
Yeah.
Oh my God, fine program. Instantly, immediately after I got over the shock, I was like, absolutely. I'm going to continue this, and I'm going to own my culpability in it and examine that, and why I'm doing it, and get deeper into the subject matter. So yeah, but what also was really important for me once I heard the news, that I wasn't going to back down. I wasn't going to be sort of bullied and shut it down. Because
You mean you weren't going to contract into the hole of pathetic, I'm a loser?
Thank you for articulating.
You weren't going
that.
to fold into the fetal position and drink yourself into a stupor?
No. I did have a glass of wine that night, but no,
right.
I decided that I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be empowered by it, and I'm going to take some hits moving forward doing it, but that's fine. I'm interested in the subject matter and brilliant people helping me. So I was like, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's see where it goes. And I'm not going to be quiet this time. So
it's important for us to really talk about relationships, since in America, in North America, in the world of the Americas, we're not that mature. It's not a mature culture when it comes to the sexual dynamic between partners. Yeah. We're really a sad little group of babies.
And speaking of sad, I know personally, I'm a little heartbroken that I thought this was a real beautiful thing, that after 17 years that you two you kind of reacquaint yourself at Jack's graduation, and then I believed it all because I saw you over the last few months together.
It's not over, by the way, Mike.
I believed that you could become good friends with an ex even after a terrible, a bad breakup that the press and the tabloids threw gasoline on. Even I, who don't follow this Hollywood gossip stuff, knew about this with Tori Spelling and Dean McDermott and Mary Jo Eustace. I even knew about this. So to learn that, you're not the friends I thought you were, because here it is over. It's almost like just too much for me. It
was coitus interruptus. Coitus interruptus.
That's what we're calling this episode, coitus interruptus. And it was for me, and I want to examine that a bit more. And I'm sad about it too. But we went in authentically to try and, see what we could do here. And it was enjoyable and a good run. And my wish and hope is that we can release those 9 other podcasts, because they are amazing. And so we'll see if we can.
Why are they so amazing? Tell me, just keep me up to speed.
They're so amazing because what happens after you do it for a bit, and Michael attests to this, is that it becomes like a therapy session. Mm-hmm. And he would just turn his camera off and we would discuss these things. And because Dean didn't know what I was going to bring to the table, it would be like this dive into everything from infidelity to, family dynamics to maybe I would have done things differently. So it was really opening up all these discussions, right?
I just remembered there's that episode with your parents, MJ.
Yeah. My parents.
I'm here again, my camera's off. I think they forget I'm here, to be honest. And I'm watching this unfold, and it's so real, so raw, so authentic. I can't believe there might be a chance I can't share this with the public. Oh, this is so beautiful. And that episode where your parents and Dean reconnect after the 17 years, and I don't want to give anything away, but this might never get out. But when Dean says to your dad,
I'm sorry,
Mr. E, I'm crying over here in my Toronto basement.
They were crying. Right. So I guess that speaks to the point that in the moment and what we were doing was real. So wait a second.
Can I say something? Can I honor something, you guys?
Yeah.
It may not be public consumption, but it's consumption that was had.
Yeah.
I think it helped Mary Jo. I think it helped Dean. I think it helped your dad. And I think we should just take a step back for just a second and say, I don't think it's over. I think that he would be lucky to, what are we here for but to contribute to the universe? And if you're not contributing, then you're taking. And if all you do is take, then you're a loser.
I see your point. So
I think he's going to have time, after he sorts it out.
Yeah, I think so too. So I think today was just an introduction back into what we're going to try and do. And then I'm doing it, on my own, and very interested in moving forward with this theme. So we're going to keep going and we're going to see where it takes us. And so thank you so much, Ray Dawn, for coming on. I know you'll come on again. You're brilliant. I love you. You're wonderful.
I'm at your service, dear heart. I enjoy talking about love and more love and more love and
Ooh,
more
I'm
love.
getting turned on.
No,
Sounds
I'm
good.
down with it. I think that this is a place in our culture that if we could globally heal love, then we can actually fight against the violence matrix. Because I want something to win, and I want it to be loving, and I want all relationships starting in kindergarten to be healthier.
Okay.
All right.
That seems to me reasonable.
That's my Christmas wish.
All
right. I love you guys.
Save me a
Bye.
spot.
Bye.
I love you
Geronimo.
too.
See you
I
guys.
love you too. Thank you so much.
Bye, Ray
Mike.
Don Chong.
Yeah, she's a force, huh?
Yeah, honestly, I'm digesting a lot of that still. There's a lot that was in the nebula, I believe.
I know. She's amazing. But I think that the point of it was just like when you walk into this arena, you
Right.
open yourself up to everything. And that's part of the process because you and I are like grieving and sad and all that stuff. So we opened ourselves up to it. And
Well, I'm glad we talked about
continue.
it. And for the listeners, right, I'm glad that we had a little bit of I think a transition because it'll be jarring for them too, that here we are rolling along, episode 2 of 11 that are in the can. We were going to do a 12, 13, 14. We're going to keep going. And now a voice is missing, but we can talk about what happened and how we move forward. And then X's and uh-ohs, which is a great concept, MJ, can continue to live and thrive.
It's going to continue. We're going to drop this bitch in a couple of days so people can listen to it and onwards and upwards. And let's see what else we discover. Are you okay, Mike? I'm worried. You need some vodka, don't you? A little bit? Yeah.
I got some
Or
Great
beer.
Lakes beer right here. I can take down a couple, but I'm
You're
okay.
so Canadian. It's so adorable. You just embrace it. I love it.
As we say goodbye here on the new episode 3, replacing the original episode 3 is like the new Coke here. At some point, will we discuss what you meant by the Hollywood cycle there, where there was a new narrative being pushed? Because a lot of that was kind of like we talked about it almost encoded. But I mean, I saw the Christmas card and I saw the exclusive about divorce being off the table. And it wasn't lost on me that all of that noise happened the exact same week that Dean exited this podcast. Like that didn't seem
Right.
like a coincidence to me.
Well, I think we need to talk about that next time.
Okay.
What
Let's
do you
do
think?
it. Yeah, absolutely. We need to unpack that.
Okay. Well, look, thank you so much to our listeners. I mean, it's been a lot. So thanks for joining today and coming along for the ride and more to come. So we're shifting, we're pivoting. And, the proverbial, we're taking some lemons and making lemonade. So it's going to be good. It's going to be fun. Right? Okay, you.
All right,
Goodbye,
MJ.
Canada. Goodbye.
Bye.
Love you. Miss you.
Well, I had me a boy, turned him into a man. Showed him all the things that he didn't understand. Whoa. Then I let him go. Now there's one in California who's been cursing my name. 'Cause I found me a better lover in the UK. Hey. Till I made my getaway. 1, 2, 3, they gonna run back to me. 'Cause I'm the best berry that they never gotta keep. 1, 2, 3, they gonna run back to me. They always wanna come, but they never wanna leave. Exes and the uh-ohs, they haunt me. Like uh-ohs, they want me to make them uh-oh, they won't let go. Exes and
And that brings us to the end of our 1163rd show. If you liked what you heard and you want to hear what happens next, you'll need to subscribe to X's and Uh-ohs with Mary Jo Eustace. At the top of TorontoMike.com, there is a link that reads TMDS Podcasts. You'll find all your subscription links for X's and Uh-ohs on that page. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Toronto Mike. Our friends at Great Lakes Brewery are at Great Lakes Beer. Palma Pasta is at Palma Pasta. Sticker U is at Sticker U. Moneris is at Moneris. Raymond James Canada are at Raymond James CDN. Recycle My Electronics are at EPRA_Canada. Ridley Funeral Home are at Ridley FH. Canna Cabana are at Canna Cabana _. And Sammy Cone Real Estate is at Sammy Cone. Cone is KOHN. See you all Saturday, December 3rd. We're live at Palma's Kitchen for TMLX 11. I'll be recording the action and I'll share it all with you Saturday afternoon. See you at TMLX 11.
I've been told that there's a sucker born every day, but I wonder who. Yeah, I wonder who. Maybe the one who doesn't realize there's 1,000 shades of gray. 'Cause I know that's true. Yes, I do. I know it's true. Yeah, I know it's true. How about you? Are they picking up trash and they're putting down roads? And they're brokering stocks, the class struggle explodes. And I'll play this guitar just the best that I can. Well, maybe I'm not and maybe I am. Ah, who gives a damn, because everything is coming up rosy and green. Yeah, the wind is cold, but the smell of snow warms me today. And your smile is fine, and it's just like mine, and it won't go away. 'Cause everything is rosy and gray. Well, I've kissed you in France, and I've kissed you in Spain. And I've kissed you in places I better not name. And I've seen the sun go down on Shaktakur.